Hi, my name is Elin Pettersson. I started to work as an occupational therapist back in 2006, and just recently I restarted as a PhD student at Karolinska Institutet in Stockholm, Sweden, after 1 year of parental leave. Anders Kottorp, who is one of my supervisors, asked me to share with you some of my experiences from my journey so far, from being an OT to become a PhD student. I will start way back, more than 15 years ago, since it connects with my choice to be an OT. Back then I worked as a personal assistant to children and teenagers with multiple disabilities. Through my work I met many different professions, and one profession stood out a little extra, the OTs. But, to be honest, it was not only in a positive way. I often felt that I would like to do the things they did, but maybe in a slightly different way. My experiences from that period are the basis to my choice to become an OT. So I started the OT education, and in 2006 I graduated, and immediately I started to work. I got a job way up north in Sweden in a little town called Kiruna, and you can see it on my simple map over there. And in this mining town I took my first shaky steps as an OT. Of course it was an unforgettable time. After 1 year I moved back to my hometown Luleå. I worked as an OT at a lot of different places around Luleå. At that time it was difficult to get a permanent employment, but I thought it was good for me to get the opportunity to try different places and different duties in hospitals, in daycare centers and in nursing homes. But after 2 more years in Luleå, I really needed to do something new. And in combination with missing my sister, who a few years earlier had moved to Stockholm, I decided to start looking for OT jobs in that area. And after a lot of searching, I got a temporary post in primary care. So then I moved 600 miles. The temporary post was later on transformed into a permanent employment, and my work as an OT in primary care was basically to meet patients in their homes and help them out with what was needed from an OT perspective. For example, finding appropriate assistive devices and helping them to manage their daily activities. It was a work full of challenges and interesting lessons. And at this picture you can see where I had my office. Anyhow, I met a lot of patients with different kinds of impairments, and after a while I felt that I was quite competent in many different areas, but I longed to be really good at something, not just mediocre in many different things. And then I got a request from my boss. It came very timely. At this time there was a reform in Sweden that changed how a memory investigation would be conducted within healthcare. And at my workplace we needed someone to implementing these new assignments. To me it sounded great. I sat in discussion groups with other OTs in primary care, and we talked about the pros and cons of our new mission and decided how to carry out these implementations. So from then on I met more and more elderly people with cognitive impairments. I have always been interested in the situations of elderly, and when I took part in this special work I found the situations of the elderly even more crucial to work with, because I saw their difficulties in coping with everyday activities and I saw their strong needs. At about the same time, the use of e-health got more and more common in Sweden, which I also got involved in as a part of my daily work. And I will just say something about e-health since it is an important aspect for my ongoing PhD project. There is a lot of different definitions of e-health, and one of them says that e-health will provide increased access to quality information, provide accessible health care, and give a better opportunity in participation for public, patients, and relatives. So, e-health consists of many parts, including the technology patients use to contact healthcare services like phones and computers. But a thought that struck me back then was, is e-health for everyone? Will our elderly patients manage the technology that becomes more and more common? So, that was just something about e-health. In 2011 I started the master education while I kept on doing clinical part-time work. But the decision to start education was not throughout simple. I was somehow convinced that I wanted more education, and I felt that it was time to do that. But would I manage to study and work at the same time? And what did I want the studies to result in? I wasn't sure. But it was interesting and rewarding to combine study and work. But I felt sometimes that it could be difficult to switch between the roles, to be a student and to be a professional. During my master education, I got in contact with my current supervisors, Louise Nygård and Anders Gottorp, and I can say that it was a whole new world open up. It was really exciting to get a broader understanding about the world of occupational therapy from a research perspective. And just a thought and a reflection that struck me was that I finally had come to a place where I could have the time and opportunity to complete my thoughts and thinking. The picture shows the building where all the master education took place, and this is also the building where I'm sitting today. So, when I wrote my master thesis, it was on a topic which linked the OT research with my clinical acceptance. And by the time the master education was done, I was so relieved, but I wasn't sure what was about to happen after this. I realized that by the time that I finished my master, my interest in research had grown remarkably. I started to think of continue with further studies, or should I change workplace, or should I do something totally different? I had a lot of thinking and rethinking. And then, of course, I came to a point where I had to make a decision whether I would stay at my workplace in primary care or make a big turn. One strong option was to go on with further studies. So, with a lot of questions for the future, I applied for a PhD position. And in competition, I luckily got it. Suddenly, I found myself in a whole new world, the academic one. But would I handle this? What am I doing? And this is way too big. A lot of questions. But when I think of the current state of my situation, I know that I did and are doing the right thing. I always wanted to evolve as an OT, and to be a PhD is really about development of both knowledge and personal skills. I started as a PhD in autumn 2014 and stayed for one semester before this little cutie came in my way. So, as I mentioned in the beginning, now I'm back after 1 year of parental leave, and I will continue with my research. And still the aim with my research is to increase awareness of how older people with or without cognitive impairments experiences their use of e-health technology in contact with healthcare services. And right now I'm interviewing older people with cognitive impairments about their experiences of using technology in contact with healthcare. It's very interesting. So today I do full-time research since I don't work clinically any longer. But I still have contact with my former workplace. They actually help me in recruiting participants for the ongoing study. We have a great help from each other, where my research highlights how their patients are doing from a perspective that you might not have time to investigate when you are working clinically. And I think it is a fantastic opportunity that I still can meet the elderly, not as an OT doing clinical actions, but as an OT doing research. And I have great use of my clinical experience and knowledge now when I do research. So, what about my future? Actually, I'm not sure. I know that I will get a lot of experiences and I will move forward and I will get new perspectives. So I see what happens, what opportunities that come my way, and what being a PhD will lead to in the end. Right now, I'm trying to find my role as a PhD to do a good job and to combine it with being a mother. Not the easiest thing. So finally, if you get the chance to educate as a master student or a PhD student, I really think you should take it. It is exciting, it's stimulating, and it's very educative. And if you have some kind of questions, don't hesitate to email me. Thank you so much for listening, and I wish you all good luck.